Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Right now, the world is being flooded with war headlines, bombs, missiles, military coalitions, enemies, retaliation. And today, I want to talk about something that many people are starting to notice, but very few people are willing to say this out loud. And while I am at it, I have to ask a simple question. Is the ongoing war really about security, or is this about a distraction? Because think about it for a moment. Just weeks ago, the the American media was filled with stories about ICE raids, immigration crackdowns, the Epstein files, and political fallouts surrounding them. And then suddenly, there was silence. Those conversations have almost vanished from the headlines. And instead, what, what do we see every day? Now we are seeing war, conflict, military coalitions, and there is even there is even now something that is presently called the Shield of the Americas. That is a new US led security alliance which was announced in March 2026. And the Shield of the Americas involves countries across Latin America and the Caribbean. This coalition is supposed to fight drug cartels and crime. That's what that's what was mentioned. But it also signals something bigger. It signals a militarization of the hemisphere. At the same time, the United States has been escalating operations across the region, from naval deployments in the Caribbean to strikes. And even when you look at the Venezuela crisis, let's not forget what happened earlier this year. The United States would have carried out military, the US would have carried out operations that led to the capture of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, during a military campaign. That alone changed the political balance in the region overnight. But while all of this is happening, another major conflict is brewing thousands of miles away. The United States is now locked in rising tensions with Iran, including strikes and retaliation that have already killed some US troops. So I will say, when governments face economic pressure, when political scandals begin to close in, when public anger starts rising, do you know what is the oldest trick in politics? War. Because war changes conversation, war moves headlines, war makes people forget. Suddenly, nobody is talking about the economy. Nobody is talking about scandals. Nobody is talking about the Epstein files anymore. Everything right now becomes about national security. And while all of that unfolds, the Caribbean must pay attention because some of our governments have now tied themselves into this new geopolitical chessboard. You know, by joining the United States security alliance, like this this pact that is called the Shield of the Americas, some Caribbean nations have effectively chosen a side. in all of the global tensions that is happening right now. And when you choose a side in global conflicts, you also inherit enemies. Countries that are aligned with Washington could easily become symbolic targets for retaliation from nations that see themselves in confrontation with the United States. And that also includes Iran. It it doesn't mean that missiles might be firing tomorrow, but it certainly means risk. It could mean things like cyber attacks, economic pressure, political destabilization, or worse, the Caribbean has always been seen as peaceful islands, you know? But history teaches something very important. It shows that when great powers are fighting their battles, and small regions would often become the front lines without even realizing it. So the message is pretty simple. The Caribbean must stay alert because when these superpowers start moving pieces across the chessboard, the smallest squares can suddenly become the most important ones. And it's the people that are living on those small squares are the ones who have to pay the price, you know? So while all of this is unfolding, one thing that we in the Caribbean must not forget is to stay alert. These are quite uncertain times, and while it is important not to panic, it's also important to be wise and to make sensible preparations where you can stay informed and most importantly, seek guidance, wisdom, and protection from the Almighty, you know, so you can navigate whatever lies ahead. So watch the headlines carefully. Look at what stories disappear when the new ones suddenly appear on your screens, because sometimes the biggest stories are the ones that nobody is talking about anymore. So I'm just gonna pause here. Do remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you another time.